shattering the absolute silence of the royal necropolis. Suspended in the suffocating blackness, the cold, star-forged adze is drawn toward the unyielding golden lip of the dead, possessing the terrifying gravitational weight of a dying sun, pulling the very fabric of the cosmos into its inescapable void. In this suffocating dark, heavy with the suffocating stench of burning myrrh and slow decay, there is absolutely no room for weeping. There is only the ruthless, microscopic precision of the desperate priest, fully aware that the silent gods of the underworld do not listen to a voiceless corpse. And to conquer the endless rot of death, one must first be violently forced to breathe. Here, at the twilight boundary of the tomb, the sanctuary becomes a slaughterhouse of the soul. The atmosphere is a claustrophobic prison of stale heat and cloying incense, where the flickering light of pitch-soaked torches desperately fights against the creeping, omnipresent shadows that threaten to swallow the limestone corridor and the fragile human arrogance within it. Every microscopic dust mote dancing in the dying light is a testament to the inescapable creeping rot of our mortal frailty. This is not a space of gentle mourning, but a rigid geometry of desperate mathematics, where the wild, chaotic reality of biological decomposition is held tightly at bay by the strict, unyielding laws of magical science and absolute administrative order. Flesh fails, blood dries, and bone shatters. But the formula remains an eternal, unforgiving absolute. To step across this limestone threshold is to willingly abandon the warmth of the living sun, trading the chaotic pulse of a beating heart for the cold, calculated mechanics of eternity, a realm where errors are paid in the currency of souls. We are merely terrified animals hiding behind the heavy, gilded masks of gods, pretending we hold the keys to the abyss. The shadows elongate, stretching like the predatory fingers of Amut the Devourer, reaching from the profound depths of the Duat to test the perimeter of our sacred warding, hungering for the slightest mathematical flaw in our desperate, whispered incantations. A single misspoken syllable here will unravel the carefully constructed fabric of a god's afterlife. The heat radiating from the stone walls is the trapped breath of generations of slaves and artisans, their invisible sweat cementing the blocks that now serve as the terrifying arena for this ultimate, desperate surgery upon the spiritual anatomy of the king. The crushing weight of eternity presses upon my chest, demanding a perfection that no mortal hand was ever designed to deliver. We stand as the final, fragile barricade between the majestic, ordered cosmos of Maat and the terrifying, swirling chaos of the unformed dark. Armed with nothing but brittle reeds, meteoric iron, and the terrifying hubris of our own fragile mortality. The burden of a god's resurrection rests entirely upon the trembling, exhausted shoulders of a man. The Sem-priest suffocates beneath the heavy, ceremonial leopard skin mantle, the spotted fur absorbing the cold sweat of his paralyzing psychological dread. Each bead of moisture, a silent testament to the agonizing human toll demanded by the ruthless administration of the divine. If my hand falters by the width of a single grain of sand, I condemn the ruler of the two lands to eternal, screaming sensory starvation. He stares down at the forensic array of ritual instruments laid upon the alabaster offering table. Each cold, unyielding tool vibrating with the terrifying gravitational weight of a collapsing star, demanding absolute, unfeeling precision in the face of insurmountable biological decay. This is not faith. This is the merciless, exacting surgery of the immortal soul. His calloused fingers hover over the celestial silver of the Peshenkef instrument, a blade forged from the very iron that fell burning from the night sky, its cold edge holding the terrifying power to sever the chains of death, or permanently sever the spiritual cord. The corpse is death. The corpse is blind. The corpse is an empty vessel awaiting the terrifying lightning strike of my desperate command. Every muscle in the priest's back screams in agony, locked in a rigid posture of terrified reverence, fighting the overwhelming biological urge to flee from the suffocating presence of death, forcing his mortal flesh to act as the flawless conduit for immortal will. He must become the unyielding chisel that carves the breath of life from solid stone. The stark, blinding gold of the funerary mask mocks his fragile human frailty. Its serene, unchanging expression entirely immune to the creeping terror that threatens to shatter the priest's sanity, as he calculates the catastrophic consequence of a microscopic miscalculation. I am merely blood and bone, attempting to forcefully legislate the mechanics of a cosmos that cares absolutely nothing from my profound exhaustion. The incense burns hotter, filling the claustrophobic burial chamber with a thick, narcotic haze that blurs the line between the physical rot of the corpse and the terrifying, vibrant reality of the spirit realm, turning every shadow into a silent, judging observer. He lifts the iron, carrying the agonizing weight of 10,000 generations of human hope. With agonizing slowness, he raises the curved wooden adze, the celestial metal glinting with a cold, unforgiving light in the torch fire, preparing to strike the rigid, golden visage and shatter the terrifying permanence of the silence that has consumed the fallen king. The boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the eternal is about to be violently, irrevocably breached by my hand. His heart hammers against his ribs with the brutal cadence of a war drum, a desperate, rapid rhythm that highlights the agonizing stillness of the mummified flesh beneath him, a stark reminder of the ultimate, crushing victory of time over all human ambition. The meticulous science of resurrection demands the absolute sacrifice of the priest's own fleeting peace. He can feel the eyes of the viziers, the scribes, and the hidden gods burning into his spine. An unseen, paralyzing audience demanding that he execute this unnatural surgery flawlessly, translating the chaotic despair of mortal grief into a pristine, functional mechanism of eternal life. We build these mountains of stone to cage the abyss, yet the dark still seeps through the cracks of my own trembling resolve. The absolute darkness of the tomb presses against the fragile sphere of torchlight, a physical, crushing pressure that seeks to extinguish the spark of magic before it can be ignited, threatening to consume the golden pharaoh and leave him wandering the desolate wastes of the underworld forever. This is the harrowing point of absolute, irreversible cosmic consequence. The priest's muscles lock into rigid, unyielding stone. Every ounce of his mortal exhaustion transmuted into singular, terrifying focus as the iron instrument begins its final, fatal descent toward the serene, impassive gold of the pharaoh's unblinking, stylized face. Let the iron of the falling stars tear open the sealed gates of the silent void. This is not a gentle awakening, but a violent, traumatic invasion of the afterlife, a desperate assault upon the fortress of death itself, requiring the precise, synchronized strike of celestial iron to act as the profound, spiritual defibrillator of the lost soul. The blade strikes the gold with the concussive force of a shattering world. The sharp, crystalline collision rings out, a violent acoustic shockwave that violently tears through the suffocating curtain of incense, rebounding off the dense limestone walls and echoing infinitely down the claustrophobic corridors, announcing to the waiting darkness that a god has reclaimed his breath. I pry open the unseeing eyes. I force the unhearing ears to register the terror of the cosmos. I demand the lungs to inflate. The absolute silence of the necropolis is utterly shattered, replaced by the ringing frequency of the meteoric metal. A high-pitched vibration that resonates in the very teeth of the priest. A terrifying physical manifestation of the boundary between life and death tearing completely apart. In this violent intersection of magic and metallurgy, mortality is momentarily conquered. The golden lips remain physically sealed, but the spiritual anatomy is violently wrenched open, flooded with the terrifying, sensory-overwhelming reality of the Duat, leaving the Sempriest entirely drained, a hollowed-out vessel of human exhaustion, collapsing beneath the sheer, crushing magnitude of his completed administration. The surgery is complete. The god breathes. But I am left drowning in the hollow emptiness of the mortal world. He falls back into the consuming shadows, his vision swimming, his lungs burning with the toxic smoke of the myrrh. Knowing that he has successfully engineered the immortality of a king, while securing his own agonizing, inescapable return to the mundane terror of biological decay. The ritual is the ultimate triumph of human defiance against the inevitable void. The visceral, choking smoke of the burial chamber violently dissolves into the sterile, climate-controlled reality of a modern institutional display, where the blinding cinematic chiaroscuro is instantly annihilated by the flat, unforgiving glare of halogen lights beating down upon shatterproof museum glass. The suffocating terror of the divine surgery is reduced to a numbered placard. The stark celestial silver of the Netjeri blade now rests inert on a bed of synthetic velvet. Stripped of its terrifying cosmic gravity, a mere forensic curiosity gaped at by passing strangers, utterly oblivious to the paralyzing psychological dread that once soaked its handle in mortal sweat. The gods have long since abandoned this gold, leaving behind only the hollow, beautiful shell of our profound desperation. The golden funerary mask remains eternally pristine, perfectly preserving the serene, unblinking arrogance of the pharaoh, while the exhausted, trembling priest who violently forged his eternal breath has been thoroughly erased by the merciless, grinding friction of 4,000 years of blowing desert sand. We construct colossal architectures of stone and magic merely to hide our profound terror. Look upon these meticulously crafted instruments of spiritual surgery and understand the beautiful, agonizing tragedy of the human condition. Our desperate, relentless compulsion to cage the infinite, to legislate the boundaries of the afterlife, and to build unyielding fortresses against the silent, patient inevitability of rot.
Dust returns. The void.
We struck the gold. We demanded eternity. And eternity answered with nothing but the dust. The meticulously recorded administration of life, the staggering weight of the scribe's ink,